Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime, here at my next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2012 episode review. This one's going to be for Season 4, Episode 11, Revenge of the Triceratons. And yeah, this wasn't a very good episode. It was fairly boring for the most part. It accomplished something in that the Triceratons got the two pieces of the black hole generator that the Turtles had, while they're obviously on their way to get the third part. So obviously we're building to the kind of mid-season finale, episode 13, of the kind of transition back to Earth and basically catching up with the timeline again, and the Triceraton invasion of Earth, which is should be exciting once we get to it. It's just that this build so far of them being in space has really not been great so far. And this episode was just another example of that. They tried to do some sort of a little arc with Donatello, but they just didn't give it enough time. There was very little there. It was just like Donatello was feeling that he wasn't as intelligent as the Fugitoid. The Fugitoid was taken out, so a lot of the pressure to operate the ship was put on Donatello, and basically it was just him fixing the Fugitoid, and then they kind of explained that, oh, you're better than I thought because you fixed me in a way that I didn't think. That's not really a great resolution to that. And they even made the joke about how, oh, it'll only take you 2,000 rather than 3,000 years to kind of catch up with modern, physics or whatever. It just really didn't hit the mark on whatever it was trying to do there in terms of Donatello feeling more intelligent by the end of the episode. No, just didn't work. It really all felt like was just a way for the Fugitoid to be out of action for a while, and the Turtles to, need to fix him, and so he has that pretty cool moment, obviously, when he comes back and the awesome laser he fires to kind of get rid of the Triceratons to not completely lose the battle here, where even though they lost the two pieces of the black hole generator, they weren't captured or killed themselves. And I think the problem with this episode was that most of it was just fighting where we knew that nothing bad was really going to happen. It was just this Triceraton commander just saying, fire this at them, fire this at them, fire this at them. Okay, I'm getting a bit annoyed now. Send ships after them. Okay, let's fire this virus thing at them. And we have another infection episode where it's like, okay, this banned infection is now on board the ship, but it's actually just this goo that morphs into these gremlin things that they defeat fairly easily. After a bit of action, it was just very wow, you really don't have a lot of clever ideas for anything with this show. This was just an episode that really highlighted a lot of just the problems of the show for me, more so than a lot of other ones. This was just so boring for an episode that is actually fairly important to the plot in what they lose here. It just really was just wow, these gremlin things, I do not care. April had some nice moments using her psychic powers. It's always nice to get to see her kind of controlling that. Still want some more context behind that, but getting to see her do that. Casey was a little bit more involved in this episode than usual as well. You got Leo being the kind of captain of the ship. That was pretty cool, but as I said, the whole Donatello Fugitoid kind of subplot thing just didn't work for me at all, in terms of having any impact really on the episode. It just felt like they had to try and do something, and it just didn't really have much of an impact. So yeah, for me, very disappointing episode overall. It obviously, as I said, has some impact in terms of setting up stuff, but in general, I am glad, very glad, that we're getting out of space in just a couple of episodes, because really reflecting on the first half of this season, it really hasn't been all that good, and I think that's a very fair point to make. It just hasn't been very good so far, but I think it is basically impossible for them to not do something good with the timelines catching up and them getting their second chance in the kind of basically the same time frame as their first chance, but they're kind of more experienced now. So I'm excited for what's coming up in a couple of episodes, but the few more episodes of space stuff that we're going to get before then, maybe not so much. Um, I'm interested to see what they do with the third part of the black hole generator. In terms of like, did they do something? Did they introduce a new interesting species or what? But in general, I'm just kind of like, please, let's get back to Earth. Let's introduce some of the characters that are actually good, like reintroduce Splinter, Shredder, Karai, the characters we care about, rather than a lot of these very lackluster space villains that I'm sure we'll get in the next couple of episodes, but really haven't been great so far. The other thing is just that the Turtles continue to be utterly incapable of defeating the Triceratons in combat, or even putting up any sort of a fight against the Triceratons. So I really don't know, like, in the sense of, like, ultimately I think what they're going for is that some sort of a time travel thing where this was always meant to happen. The reason that the Turtles ended up with the Triceratons ended up with the black hole generator was in part to do with the Turtles, and it was always part of the timeline that the Turtles travel back in time. And it's just them kind of now being there from their time travel during the events of what's about to happen with the Triceraton invasion coming up that will allow them to in any way change anything. The problem is that they haven't developed the Turtles in terms of their fighting skills enough to where I think they can make a difference. So I think that's actually quite an interesting thing going into, I suppose, the mid-season finale, in the sense of, like, how are the Turtles going to change the fate of what happens here? How are they going to win in the end and actually fix things, I suppose? Yeah, as the sooner we get back to Earth, the better. Just the actual good subplots I think are better. Like they've to some extent set up how important Splinter is and how much they're mainly trying to fix things or revert things back to the way they were for him, but also like to get further development on Karai, which is probably one of the most interesting plots in the entire show. And then just continue the Turtles versus Shredder. I think them, if they do revert things and it kind of goes back to normal, they will have known that at some point, Splinter was open to kind of working with Shredder, but Shredder betrayed him and that he was responsible for his death at one point. And that will make the next fight between the Turtles and Shredder all the more interesting. But again, I don't think they've developed enough in terms of combat ability to feel like any sort of a match for Triceratons or Shredder. So yeah, that was the episode. We got a lot of space combat here, which was fun, but it's just one of those things where this show is so light on character development that is actually meaningful and actual moments for the characters that like mean anything, that a lot of the fighting also lacks a lot of the impact. So it's something I've been saying a lot recently with a lot of just the hand-to-hand combat fights, but also this like ship-to-ship combat fight here. Just a lot of it lacks impact because we don't know the characters as well as we perhaps should know them. But I'm going to end it there. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the episode. And I suppose as we're getting towards the end of the space arc, what are your thoughts on how the space arc has been up to now? Do you think it's been good, or has it been a kind of little bit of a failed experiment and that the show is just best on Earth? I really want to know your thoughts on that. But yeah, other than that, that's been the video, the review. Thanks for watching, and bye.